Technicality. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April 3rd, 2024 meeting of the Gaithersburg Planning Commission. Carol Reed will be participating fully tonight as all of the regular commissioners here. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you.
First up is our approval of the minutes from March 20th, 2024. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes of March 20th, 2024 as written in the record.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. And then we have a consent agenda tonight. There's one item for AFP-9765-2024, a new two-story rear yard addition at 140 Mission Drive in the R6 medium-density residential zone. This is an amendment to final site plan. Any questions on the consent agenda tonight?
Very straightforward.
Nice addition.
Yeah, all right.
No,
Very good.
no
questions.
Is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent item as in the record.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. And that takes us to the record plat agenda, and there's one of those tonight for plat RP-9756-2023, Lot 22, Block 1 in the Russell and Brookes addition at 5 Brookes Avenue. Nothing to say about this, right, Rob?
Nope.
Or-
I'm available if you have any questions.
What's that?
I'm available if you have any questions.
Okay.
Very straightforward.
All right. Any questions for anybody?
No.
All right. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the record plat.
Second?
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously, and I called Greg Rob, which he'll probably never forgive me for, so.
Yeah.
I know you've been called worse, but probably not.
I can't think of what it would be.
All right, so that takes us to our site plan agenda tonight, and we have one for AFP-9778-2024 parking lot improvements and parking waiver for the Walnut Hill Shopping Center at 16531 South Frederick Avenue in the C2 General Commercial Zone. And this is an amendment to final site plan, and presenting from staff is Jasmine Forbes. Good evening, Jasmine.
Good evening. So staff's before you to present amendment to final site plan application AFP-9778-2024. This application comes before the Planning Commission in accordance with Section 24-172A, which requires the Planning Commission to grant amendments to approved site plans. The applicant's requesting improvements for a parking lot at the Walnut Hill Shopping Center. And as part of the application, the applicant's requesting a parking waiver for drive aisles that do not meet the city's required minimum 26 feet for two-way traffic. Per Section 24-222A, the Planning Commission has the authority to approve parking waivers, and I will have the applicant to do the presentation this evening.
Great, thanks. Good evening.
Thank
Welcome
you,
back.
Commission, for having us. And thank you to staff for getting us in on really short notice here. We didn't expect to have to come for this, but they really helped us get in here quickly, which we appreciate.
Great.
So I will just give, everyone's pretty familiar at this point with the shopping center, but a quick overview. We're the east side of 355, just north of 370. This is a more zoomed in view, bordered by Southwestland on the south and Northwestland on the north. And then here's just a couple photos of the existing shopping center. So the goal tonight is really to fulfill all the requirements of our annexation agreement in this site plan. But for the parking waiver, or the drive aisle waiver, we would be handling these through the staff approval. So tonight we are coming before you to restripe the entire parking lot to meet the city striping and dimensional guidelines. The waiver is requested for existing drive aisle dimensions. We'll be eliminating the existing entrance on Southwestland Drive where the South Pad building is being demolished. We're installing trash corrals behind the shopping center to consolidate tenant dumpsters. We'll install new parking lot islands to increase the green space and meet overall site green space requirements. And then we're also installing new light posts in the north parking area to meet lighting codes in that part of the parking lot. And then we're also identifying an area for future EV charging stations. So I'll run through the site plan briefly here. Starting at the top, these are the 3 locations proposed for our trash corrals. Today, all the dumpsters are managed by each individual tenant, and they're scattered along the fence back here in a way that's not very organized and is also closer to the residential built properties behind. So we're consolidating these into 3 main corrals that will be screened, and landlord will be managing the trash to consolidate dumpsters down to 6 instead of the 15 plus dumpsters that are out there today. On the north parking lot, these is the locations of the 3 new light poles we're putting in. Our application also includes a light level study showing that we're now meeting the lighting requirements in that north parking lot. These are the spaces we've identified as potential for EV charging stations. We're currently working through several vendors and determining who we're going to work with to implement these, but they will, the vast majority of them would like to see them in this area out here. We're also taking care to avoid the area that will potentially be impacted by the future bus rapid transit taking. So that kind of comes through this area just to the south, but does miss these parking spaces. So we're thinking about that as we lay these out. And then we're also restriping the entire parking lot, but for the future convenience and gas, convenience store and gas service that's under a separate approval. The rest of the parking lot will be seal coated and striped with the correct striping for the city of Gaithersburg. And then there are those waivers that we're looking for at the drive aisles. We just simply don't have room to expand the drive aisles in any way on site from the way they are today. This is just a quick diagram showing the green space. Highlighted here in green are the areas that we are counting. Just to note, this does not meet the required 10% green space without the future Sheetz convenience and gas station. We're at about 7.2% today, but we are planning to meet the overall site requirements in the final condition when Sheetz comes in. I think we're just over 11% on site with the green space. So this is under a separate application, but we will meet the requirements once that is approved. And then I just wanted to follow up on one more thing that the council brought up as part of our shopping center sign plan, comprehensive sign plan that we got approved a month or so ago. There was a request to expand the island at this sign at the right in, right out on 355. If you take a look at this area hashed out in blue here, this area is all pervious pavement that was part of the Bank of America approvals that was done through the county several years ago. So we are unable to modify that pervious pavement at this time because it's a requirement for the Bank of America. And then furthermore, this area will be part of the BRT taking at some point, likely in the next several years. So we'll be reworking this entire area at that time as well. And then I did dig back through the archives to try to determine if this sign had been a victim of car accidents. And the last time it was hit was in September of 2001. So it's been standing for a good 23 years without an accident. So hopefully we can make it with the new sign until this entire area is then reconfigured as part of the bus rapid transit. So I did just want to follow up on that as well because I think that was a condition of our previous approval. And unless there's any questions, that's all I have.
Just real quick, would you go back to the overall paving, striping plan, and just kind of talk about where the worst conditions are for the drive aisle waivers? And by worst, the narrowest, I guess, the most constrained.
Yeah, I didn't include that side. I don't know if you recall exactly, Jasmine. I think there are some areas in here. It's hard to read, but I think
that's 21, but mostly it's all the back. The back looks like 16, 20, 21 feet.
So most of it is in the rear of the shopping center here, which shouldn't see a lot of traffic, but for truck deliveries.
Right.
And then I think there's a couple other of these drive aisles that are like a foot or two short in the main parking area here. But I think the worst, like Jasmine mentioned, is along the back, and then in this area of the turnaround, kind of the U-shaped parking lot there.
So they tend to be in areas that are going to be, well, certainly in the rear, maybe less utilized, less traffic, right? So that'll be.
Yeah, the rear, I would think, yes, definitely less traffic. This could be congested in here. This is a condition that exists today, and I don't think it's a frequent area of incidents, but Certainly, people are moving through this area at much slower speeds, maybe than the main drive aisle out in front of us.
And that area was converted from a little plaza at some point. That hasn't always been parking, right?
That's correct, it was. Yeah.
Just to kind of refresh my memory, what is the parking calc right now? Are you overparked, or are you just about there? Are we underparked? Lost track of it?
Yes, when this is completed, we will have 441 spaces. That does not include the Sheets area.
Okay.
I believe our annexation agreement, after this is completed, any future redevelopment is required at a 3 to 100 spaces, or sorry, 3 to 1,000 square feet,
Okay.
excuse me. So that required parking would be 331 spaces. So per our annexation agreement, we are well in excess of the required parking. But some of those parking spaces, are maybe not quite as usable for customers. along the
Right, out
backside.
behind. As an operator or owner, are you comfortable with the parking calcs? What I'm leading up to is, especially with that little area that is so constrained up in front of the building,
Mhm.
what would be so wrong with, pulling out that island of parking and just making it an island and loosening that up a little bit to,
Yeah, I think today when you're out there, it feels okay because there is this large parking field here. But I think when the Sheets is developed, this area up here is absolutely critical for all of our small shop tenants in this area. I mean, we're going down to, I believe, 35-ish parking spaces on the Sheets parcel. And so this field certainly services the upper level. This field will service Aldi and the other tenant here.
Yep.
But in terms of these tenants in here, they rely heavily on these
Okay.
spaces and some of these ones over here. So I would be very uncomfortable removing any spaces in this area in particular. It's just they're critical, I think, for the
Okay,
success
fair
of the
enough.
tenants there.
All
I have a
Go ahead.
question. So you had mentioned the seal coating of the parking lot
Mm-hmm.
and then also the EV car slots there.
Yeah.
Do you know if there has to be any type of special seal coating if you're also putting in the EV? Or I was just thinking that the EVs at times, I don't know if they're combustible or not. We would hope not.
I'm not aware of that, but that's something I can definitely
us
keep in
started,
mind when we're doing. I know that Montgomery County in particular, this actually came up, has a pretty strict code, or not code, but rule regarding the types of seal coats that you can
Okay.
use. Because our contractor said that we needed to do 2 coats here versus a typical 1 coat because Montgomery County doesn't allow, I'm messing up the terminology, but the nastier type of seal coating. So I think we're getting something that's more eco-friendly here. I don't know about if there's any special requirements for EV, but that's something we can make sure we account for.
Okay, thank you.
The parking in the rear, the lighting for that, is that the original lighting that you have, or are you adding any additional lighting? Because that was not used as parking previously.
There is lighting along the fence back here.
Right.
The goal with lighting back here is to illuminate the spaces and not to have too much bleed over into the residential backyards. So I think, and we feel very comfortable that the lighting back here is sufficient. That wasn't something that came up throughout our discovery process with the neighbors, which really they alerted us mostly to the north lot not being up to code. But I think the back area, just to eliminate people hanging out and things, we've got a lot
Right.
of lighting back there.
I'm concerned about that, as well as, was any thought given to that narrow strip where the small stores are gonna be, to having a pass-through, so that someone walking from the back lot can actually come up to those stores?
Yeah, this area here, it's kind of hard to see, but the breezeway here, where we're planning string lights and additional seating and some tables, this has access to the back here. So if you are parking back here, you can come right through this blue area in the center and access the shops here or along this space on this
Okay,
side.
so they
there
will
is
be
a
able to go to those
Yeah.
ones. Okay.
Yeah, and in fact, I think if you wanted to pop into a store here quickly,
Right.
you might be better off going to the back and just walking right through.
And
here
obviously,
to
you'll
get
have
there.
wayfinding in order for
Yes.
people to understand that.
Yep.
Okay, that helps.
Yeah, that was part of their comprehensive sign
Yeah.
package. They had to, in
Yeah,
fact,
yeah.
give
We
them
talked
a
about
little bit of a
signage on that
waiver
back
those
corner.
flag
Yeah.
signs, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just like the consolidation of trash receptacle, that's a really great idea.
And I don't see anybody on the online attendees, so that, and there's nobody here. So just for the record, I can say there's probably nobody here looking to comment on this application. So with that, Jasmine, what's the recommendation, please?
So before we start, after talking with the applicant during their presentation, noting how they cannot expand that one parking island at the entrance, so staff's going to recommend the removal of condition number 3. Staff's going to recommends that the planning commission, based on the exhibit submitted, the applicant's testimony, and the staff report findings and recommendation, grant AFP 9778-124 and parking waiver finding conformance with sections 24-170 and 24-172A of the city zoning ordinance with 3 conditions.
2?
3.
3.
Pick it up.
We originally recommended 4.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Scroll down.
Anytime.
All right, great. You mentioned, just to kind of be clear about the record, the pervious pavers that are along that one side required by the county. What is the status of that? I guess I'm probably looking at Jasmine for this, moving into now having annexed the parcel into the city. Are there conditions to the original site plan that still carry, or do we have latitude with that if there were modifications to be made?
It's my understanding all of that was done for the Bank of America that's currently out there. Staff would try not to change kind of what's out there, especially with stormwater.
As it relates to your review tonight, though, since this now is in the city, I would believe this planning commission has the latitude to make any recommendations or changes as necessary and would not require anything from the county.
Okay.
Typically with these type of easements, we typically have them extinguished and then reestablished and then granted to the city instead of the county. I don't know if the applicant has done that yet, but that's normally how we handle stormwater easements when they're part of annexation.
Which is what that pervious paving would count be. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And for the record, I've never felt hemmed in by the county's approval, but I do appreciate just keeping that impervious pavers there, and it's a good expensive item that actually gets some groundwater recharge, and
Yep.
and if we don't have proof that it's actually a hazard, then that seems great.
Oh, I agree.
So-
And my only point was that there's, just to be clear, there was no restriction on
Yeah.
touching that per se.
Right.
Just because it was
Look at
required
it
originally.
thoroughly, which the applicant has done for us.
I do want to note that pervious is also surrounded by a stormwater easement.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'll keep talking if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think good engineering practice on two-way lane, I know we have a big 26 foot lane, which is generous, and frankly, it's kind of a suburban standard, right? It tends to lead to some pretty fast traffic. So 20 is kind of the engineering limit of the lower end of that. It keeps cars going very slow because you're not really sure if you're going to take your mirror off for the guys going past you, which is good in my opinion for a lot of high pedestrian traffic areas. And this project actually is only getting below 26 in a lot of these areas to 24 and 23,
Right.
which is not, again, in my mind, a big delta to compromise for an existing condition, not a new build.
Yeah.
And the real pinch point is that 19.6 that's on the back aisle, that's in that very back of the site plan. So that's really, to me, the only one that's below what I would say is a minimum engineering standard, and I'm not terribly worried about a one-sided,
Right, the good news is it's not a double loaded.
single-loaded
Yeah.
back
Yep.
lane. So I'm all for it. And just to correct the record, my car doesn't leak oil, so it doesn't need extra sealing of that of asphalt, and does not catch fire.
That's right.
But I'm not driving around with a giant
I
container
just see
of
it as
gasoline.
an evolving technology. I mean, just a comment, I just see that as an evolving technology, and as we become more familiar with an electric vehicle and the components involved with it, and then the slurry seal may have been the pavement there, that there's just a lot of what we witnessed last week with the bridge going down. There's just a lot of dirty stuff, oil going out, that I don't think that would be part of this, but I bring it to our attention just in case.
All the more reason to support EVs. Gotcha.
That's right, there's no way.
Yeah.
But that's great. So that's my thought about the application.
Yeah, and I guess in general, the center has been the way it is for however many years, with roughly the same drive aisle configuration. You're probably going to make some modest adjustments here and there, but it works, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's not as if there's been a problem with, now, on the other hand, it's not been fully leased for a long time, so hopefully this does turn into turns into a busier parking lot in the
Yeah.
not too distant future, but nevertheless, safety being a concern, as Matt said, narrowing them just helps with the speed. The only downside, of course, is that, people drive large cars and they need to back up, but,
Mhm.
I mean, Aldemar's in front of Aldi too, which is, I think we raised a few meetings ago, that that's obviously the big sort of through pedestrian with packages,
Mhm.
all kinds of folks,
Shopping
ambulatory,
carts.
non-ambulatory, all ages are getting in and out of that store, crossing that perpendicular drive aisle, and that's only 20, which in my mind, less than the 26, in my mind is a good thing. That's a
Mhm.
traffic calming measure in my mind.
Right.
So,
Well, in anticipation of a supermarket going in, are there going to be any corrals for the carts in the parking lot?
So Aldi has a unique system, if you haven't noticed
No.
it before, but they return all their carts to underneath their canopy on the front
Yeah.
sidewalk. And they use a system where a customer puts a quarter in the cart to unlock it, and then when they bring their cart back, they get their quarter back. And I worked at Aldi for 13 years, and it works at
Okay,
2,200 stores in the U.S. It's incredible.
yeah.
That helps.
How about that?
I always thought that was incredible because I was like, well, if you want the card, it only costs you a quarter.
I haven't seen
You
it
can run around with
in
the
years.
car, right?
Sometimes you can swap right in the middle of the parking lot
Right.
if you're going
Right,
in,
exactly.
and they might even just give you the card, and then you're up at 25 cents then.
Good way to make a living.
Yeah.
You literally have to have a quarter to put it in there. Yeah.
All right, again, nobody online, nobody in the audience, so if there's no more discussion, are we ready to move forward?
Yes.
All right,
Mr.
is there a
Chairman?
motion, please?
I move that the planning commission, based on the exhibits submitted, the applicant's testimony and the staff report, findings and recommendation, grant AFP 9778-2024 and parking waiver, finding it in conformance with section 24-170, 24-172A of the city zoning ordinance with the 3 conditions as read to the record.
Second,
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously.
Great.
Thanks very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
What's the next step? The corner lot?
The sheets, I think, is the last large item to
Great.
get through approvals here. So I
Great,
think
great,
other than that, we should just be doing construction and leasing up the center. We're excited.
Fantastic, thanks.
Excellent.
Well,
That's
good luck.
great. That's
Thank you.
great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
That's the first thing you see when you come into the city, basically, now,
Exactly.
355.
It's the entrance.
Yeah.
It's an
Right.
entrance point.
Yeah, gateway. That takes us to, from the commission, Danny, can I start with you, please?
Tonight, I had another meeting with Maryland, APA Maryland and MPCA, and we're continuing our planning for our joint annual conference, and I hope that my colleagues and cohorts on the planning commission would love to come and be with us in October. We're gonna have a great time.
No pressure.
It's gonna be, of course, in Howard County, and, it's our sister county there, but I think it's gonna be a wonderful collaboration, because, and it's, the collaboration of professional planners and citizen planners. That's always a good thing.
Is the, I'm gonna be to catch up with you, but
No, I'm done.
is the, are they up on their websites yet, like the date and sort of the?
I believe we have saved the dates up.
Okay.
Yes, but we've signed a contract with Turf Valley. It's going to be at Turf Valley, which is a great venue,
Mhm.
an expensive venue, but it's going to be
Plans can afford it.
but it's going to be really nice. I really think it's going to be something worth considering.
Do we have folks going to APA this year?
Planning staff, yes, no one from the
No one from
commission.
the commission.
No one. Did you ask?
Yes.
Okay. No, I just wondered if the budget got, changed or something.
No, in the draft budget right now, it does have an allotment for a commissioner to attend next year's APA conference,
But not this year.
not this year.
Okay. Didn't know that. I noticed it was almost exactly a year ago, it was in Philadelphia. There was
Yeah,
a reference of that popped up. Okay. Oh, Lloyd, anything?
nothing.
Okay. Matt, anything?
Nope.
Carol, thanks for
Nope.
being here. Anything? Okay? All right.
All good.
Oh, okay.
Nice short meeting, so.
All right, thanks.
Awesome.
Greg?
Just a reminder, a couple dates, we have a joint public hearing on April 15th.
Mm-hmm.
That's on Retool Gaithersburg, the comprehensive review and update to the city zoning code. It is the joint public hearing, so it's the culmination of all the work sessions we've had up to this date.
Right.
The draft is on the project page. We will be posting it obviously as part of the council's packet shortly, but the draft is already currently up and on the project page. So anyone in the public can go look at it, as well as any of the commissioners or council members as well.
And the next meeting is the 17th?
17th.
And you said that if need be, there may be a meeting on the 16th?
We have, we've baked in a continuance meeting on
Yes.
April 16th if needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apologies, I'll be traveling that night, so I'll be absent, so I just want to give you my congratulations. You know, even just the way it's organized on the website, it's just nice. It's really exciting. It's gonna be a link when it's, finally where it's supposed to be in the website, that I get to send out to other planning directors that I have to deal with on a regular basis. So.
I'm just gonna say, do this, right? You'll have
Yes.
little quick parts
Get
and
up
do
your
this.
rear end, do this.
Yeah.
You go, look at me, look at me.
Well, I didn't do it.
Nice.
I'm just a cheerleader.
Look at us.
Yep.
Frank, anything to know? Nothing okay?
Excellent.
All right. If that is all there is, then have a good evening. We're adjourned.